Well, hello, Mavericks. Welcome to the Market Roundup. This is Rob. It is April 8th, 2019. Let's go ahead and get into it. I've got to say, today was a fairly boring day. We had a pretty tight candle, and we started out basically a little bit down at the future. So the market started down. We headed down a little bit at the open. And then we basically climbed all the way back. So if you take a look at an intraday chart, we basically had a market that went down a little bit, and then it literally just climbed all the way back up. And then we had a little pop right at the end. But that's pretty much what the intraday chart looks like, to where we ended up 0.1%. So again, opened up, gap down, a little bit of selling in the morning. The buyers came back. And again, we saw this kind of buying. Remember, whenever you see this kind of buying intraday, it tells you that there's a ton of stock on the bid. And let's talk again what that means. So when a big institution wants to buy, let's say they want to buy 4 or 5 million shares of a certain stock. Well, they send it to their order execution desk, and they send it to one of their traders. And those traders, their job is to buy 5 million shares of a certain stock. Well, look, that trader can't just hit buy market for 5 million shares. That's silly. They'd lose their job, and that would be crazy because they would move the stock themselves. So what they do is they go out there and they put a bunch of bids out there, basically to where if there's any selling whatsoever, they get filled. So let's say there's a stock at, let's say, $50. So what they'll do is they'll go out and they'll put a bid out there at $49.95. And they'll say, you know what, I'll buy 5,000 shares at $49.95. So let's say there is some sort of selling that comes into the stock. And guess what? It goes down and hits their $49.95. They've bought 5,000 shares. And then, again, they'll put out another bid at $49.93 for another 5,000. And if there's any selling during that day and it goes down to there, they'll be filled on that 5,000. So what happens is that throughout the day, there just is no pullbacks because the bid is so thick. But remember, this trader also wants to get filled on shares. So if there's ever an ask out there, let's say the trade goes up a little bit and there's an ask at 50.02 for 5,000 shares, well, guess what they're going to do? They're going to grab those shares. Anything of any size, they're going to go ahead and grab. So they're going to grab anything of size up on the ask that's reasonable, and they're going to have a ton of bids out there in case there is any selling that hits this market. And they're doing that all day long. And so that's what we see is we see this all day long move, and then at the end, there's usually a spike because what happens at the end of the day is that this trader still has maybe 50,000 shares that they want to get filled this day because they have a stack of orders on their desk from tomorrow. They need to do like a bunch of this tomorrow as well. So right at the end of the day, then they'll hit the market pretty hard, which is why you get this little burst right at the end of the day. So we got this day today. Again, this is a sign of a very, very strong tape. There's a lot of stock out there that wants to be bought. It's not chasing. It's not being going into market orders, but it's definitely out there on the bid. Now, we did see the Dow down 0.3. This is a lot off of its lows. We had bad news on Boeing today. Boeing ended up cutting some of their numbers. And so we did see Boeing take a big hit. Boeing is the largest component of the Dow. The Dow is a price-weighted index. So Boeing up in the 350 area, that's going to have a lot of impact on the Dow. But you can see the Dow, or the S&P and the NASDAQ, actually had a decent day. Started down, went up. Best sector was materials. And I actually am going to show you charts of a few energy stocks that are looking really good. Oil has continued to move up. Oil was up 2% today, up to almost $65 a barrel. That's very, very bullish for oil. And we're starting to see these energy stocks that were lagging. They're really starting to pick up some momentum. So I do like that sector quite a bit. Consumer did well. What did not do well? Utilities and industrials. Again, that industrials drop is pretty much 100% from Boeing. And we would expect to see the utilities lag a little bit in these kind of markets. Now, we've had a nice run off the bottom. And we just had this nice little move. I want to go ahead and just draw in the trend line here. So if we take the last two tops and we draw this trend line, you can see that we are simply trading at the top of this trend line. So we are right up against some resistance levels, but again, this market is very, very strong. Now, theoretically, you typically see pullbacks when you get to the top of trend lines. And it would not surprise me at all if we saw a little pullback, but this kind of price action tells me I think we stay up here close to the trend line, and actually I could see a nice blow off top as we blow off through the top of this and then get a pullback. So I see nothing but bullishness here. And if we do pull back, I think a slight pullback to maybe the 2860 area is about all you'll be likely to see here. So I think the market is going to have that same slow grind higher that we've seen here for the last couple of weeks at least. The one thing I want to do is I want to pull up a longer dated chart and go all the way back to where we were in the beginning of October. So at the beginning of October, the closing high on the NASDAQ was right around 80.50. So that is our all-time high on the NASDAQ, 80.50. And you can see we're now at 79.50, or just 100 points below. We are basically trading 1.2% below our all-time highs on the NASDAQ. I believe we're about 2% off of our highs on the S&P. We're all the way back. So again, we had the big fall in October, we had the bottom out, and we're right back up here. There is likely to be some resistance up here. As I said, it would not surprise me at all to see a blow-off top candle here. Again, this kind of movement is so strong, and then we get all the shorts finally say, I can't take it anymore. They cover, it shoots up before we get any sort of little pullback here. But I do think we're going to get some resistance up in the 80.50, 8100 area, but I don't see really any reason that we stop until we get to that point. So if we take a look at the heat map, this was a pretty broad-based rally. And if you really take a look at today, the advanced decline line was basically 1-to-1, meaning that for every one stock that went up, one went down. It was pretty broad. Yes, we did get some weakness in the industrials. I forgot that Boeing also got a big downgrade by Tusa. Tusa is a very influential analyst, and he downgraded Boeing stock to a price target of 5. So with the Boeing and the GE news, that took a lot out of the industrials. But if you take a look around, you can see that the things were down. They weren't down all that much. Google, Facebook down a little bit. But we had some strength in the semiconductors. We had strength in the consumer names. Services were very good. The materials, this is a group I really want to spend some time on with you because I think that this is coming alive right now. And everything else is it was just a bullish day. It wasn't fantastic. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't huge volume. It wasn't a huge range. It was just a day where there was just steady buying. So let's take a look at a couple setups here. As I mentioned here, I really think the energy sector is coming alive. So, I mean, the first three here, these are energy. We have some mining on here as well. So again, bullish stuff looking good. Let's take a look at a couple bulls here. This is CRZO. Now CRZO, you can see you're bottomed out back in December with the rest of the market. Big fall here, 18 down to almost 9, almost lost 50% of its value. And we spent a long time in the $10 to $13 range. That is a lot of consolidation. As you can see, we're starting to break out of the top of that range. Nice candle here, open up at the low, closed up the high. It's got a lot of momentum here. So again, I like this one. Ultimately, I think you could see it go all the way back up to maybe the $16, $17 area. I'm not going to be that bullish. I think a pretty wimpy price target of 14 might be the trade here. So like a 13-14 spread, or you could take a look at some other sort of combos. So CRZO on this one. I found AVGO on some of the trader trades in the trader forum, and I just love this pattern. Look at this pattern. A high and tight base is forming. So again, we got a big run up from 290 up to 305, and it refuses to go down. And look at that volume. That volume is just drying up. This is supposed to be where stocks pull back. This is supposed to be where some sellers come in. No one's coming in. There's just a little bit of an absence of buyers right now. That's what you see in these high and tight bases. A breakout to the upside would be a nice trigger here right around the 305 area. 305, 306 would be a nice trigger on AVGO. Another high and tight base that just looks fantastic is on MLCO. MLCO, this is a casino company, and this is really strong in Macau, so it's definitely tied to China. And you can see that we've had a nice little steady uptrend. We gave back some ground in March, and then we're back off to the races. Good volume on the up candles. If you take a look at all the up candles, they've got some good volume on them. High and tight base. I don't think we're going to wait for the moving averages to catch up. I see a nice easy price target of 26 on this on MLCO. So a lot of bull stuff is triggering. And a lot of times, especially what we've seen over the past 2 months, pretty much the whole market has gone up. I was actually quite encouraged that I was able to find a lot of good short setups too. And I love it when the market has both long and short opportunities inside it, where again, some things are going up, some things are going down. This is a much better trading environment if you're taking lots of trades and doing basket trading. This here is Canada Goose, GOOS, and you can see nice bear rally that was triggered today. We'd made a lower low here at the 45. We rally up to the 49. Nice confirmation candle today. 45 is going to be some pretty thick support, so I don't think you want to be any more aggressive than 45 on your target. If it does break 45, look out below, likely going to 40. So that's Canada Goose, GOOS. Again, this stock failing to make new highs in a very, very strong tape. That's a good sign of a weak stock. So I'm very encouraged by this market and this trading. We've got lots of good long setups, and we've got decent short setups. Not great, but decent, but they are definitely moving. It's nice when you have both of those, because then both of your trades, your longs and your shorts and your sideways, can actually make you some profits. So let's talk about tomorrow's outlook. I've got that the market continues to be bulletproof. That being said, it's tired. It's tired. It's sitting up here at the top of the range. I don't think we're going to see any big moves at all here tomorrow or this week. I actually think this week turns out to be a +1 week. I think we don't see any big candles. I don't think we see any big volume. But I do think we hang at the upper end of those trend lines. That being said, at the upper end of trend lines, obviously the bullish entries aren't as good. They are obviously susceptible to any sort of pullbacks in the market, but there's no question that the market is telling you to be overall bullish. And then on the economics and the earnings reports, there's really nothing to even talk about, just small reports. If you're interested at all, the new IPO that came out, Levi is going to announce earnings. I'm not interested. I haven't been interested in Levi's since about 1988. So any of you that are young, I don't think my kids have any idea what Levi's are. So it's fairly uninteresting. But that is the market roundup. As I said, I don't see a lot of excitement here this week. I just see this slow, steady grind higher in the market continuing. All right, thanks for joining me, everyone. Happy trading. Goodbye.